in all these 60 years of democracy, we've not really given democracy a chance. We've not really tried to translate the promises that we have made to ourselves in the Constitution into reality. For instance, poverty. 60 years down the line, and we are still grappling with poverty. We talk about it as some enormous problem that can never be solved, but that has to be just maintained in some way. There is also a vested interest, I think, in maintaining poverty and maintaining the poor the way they are, because they are a large vote bank. We can buy their votes. All the schemes that are directed at the poor today are schemes that are designed to keep the poor dependent on the state's benevolence. They are not schemes that empower the poor either politically or economically. Instead, we should really enable the marginalized to be able to have aspire and attain a better quality of life. This should be through actually providing employment, providing dignity of labor, and not, creating a situation where the poor are dependent on something that might trickle down from above. India seems to be growing in a very skewed manner. In the last 25 years, we have seen that a certain section of the population, basically the corporates, seem to be leading the agenda for development. A country cannot grow unless both sides, or all the aspirations of all the people are taken into consideration, and equally. Our Constitution promised us, equality, secularism, freedom, democracy, and these are things that have to be translated into practice, because this is a promise that every citizen has given unto herself. But unfortunately, this is not the way India is developing. It's like a bicycle. If you have the two wheels of a bicycle going at different speeds, the bicycle will collapse. There have been a lot of new political formations in the recent past, like the Aam Aadmi Party and Anna Hazare's anti-corruption movement, and now we have something called BPAC in Bangalore, which is the Bangalore Political Action Committee. And these are very interesting formations. They pose themselves as political alternatives when actually they are corporate lobbies. And this is very interesting because actually corporates are not democratic at all. The way corporates are run are very hierarchical. Nobody elects a CEO. And they have absolutely no knowledge about development, about how to run a country, about how to keep the marginalized empowered, how to enable the marginalized to cross that threshold, that incredible threshold that we have of the BPL, the below poverty line, and to actually cross it and become part of the middle class. And these are the people who are actually now trying to control, not just push an agenda, but to control government itself. And they're doing that through buying candidates. Earlier we were accusing the candidates of buying votes, and now we have a situation where corporates are actually selecting and buying candidates by giving them 20 lakhs for the election campaign.
We oppose a lot of these private entities who speak for a certain section of the people. And even in this case, what happens if somebody, a private entity coming together to form another group, and then starts investing money now in terms of elected representatives, they will surely expect something to be done for them. And I think that is actually a very blatant use of money and power, and then misuse of electoral norms also.
It's too early to say, and I think it's a well-intentioned beginning, but time will tell how things play out.
I see youth getting connected. Recently, I was seeing a TV show on a prominent English news channel, which said such initiatives are ensuring like participation of youth, wherein youth were involved in street theatre activities and across the sensitizing community to go and participate. There is no problem if such initiatives are transparent, initiatives are not used for self-interest, but rather of the societal interest at large.
The BPAC and all its fathers and mothers, Abide and BATF and all that used to be there. I have a very poor opinion of them. I believe that Bangalore has been an oligarchy for a very long time, and it's as against a democracy. An oligarchy is where big business gets to rule just by the sheer force of their money power. Over the past 2 or 3 decades, all the skewed development that we've seen in Bangalore is a result of an oligarchy.
If you look at any political party, I think one thing they have demonstrated quite clearly is the fact that they don't have any interest in the true progress and development of the people. Any political party. And what is worse is those in power, be it BJP formation or UPA and the Congress formation and so on, they have aligned themselves so perfectly with corporate interests. That means we're really talking about voting guys who finally are subscribing to the demands and whims and fancies of the top 5 or 10%. So there is a clear division between them and the larger us. And the larger us becoming more and more defenseless comes out once in a while when we see extraordinary violence, like rapes or police brutality or so on and so forth. But we don't actually look at the subdued violence which is there all around us. And that subdued violence is part of the corrupt mechanisms that are induced. It is part of officials not helping when they should. Lack of accountability. We just have become so inert that we don't even understand that is also violence, right? And so it's like, we try and become escapist and say, if I go and vote once in 5 years, I think I've done a great thing for my country. The other aspect I see, especially in the urban middle classes, is that all of them are bad, I got the good guys. And I've been seeing some of the good guys, so-called good guys. See, the lack of financial corruption does not signify to me honesty. Honesty to me signifies a true belief in the constitutionalism of our lives here. And the Constitution upholds all resources to be ours. And it has to be shared equitably, and there should not be an economic model which will result in disproportionate distribution of the wealth. But what we are now subscribing to the economic policies are actually doing that, actively doing that. And some of the new guys who have come, for instance the Lok Sabha party, have not only proposed that kind of segregated democracy where the elite will decide for us, but they are actively participating in elite politics. So this kind of, a myth which is being created, that simply because they don't have corruption, they are actually serving the larger interest of the country, is also not enough for us. So what we really need now is a process, and I'm not saying that it can come now. These elections are clearly resulting in a khichdi, you see. And it's funny to watch it because everyone is saying the other one is more corrupt. They're not saying they're not corrupt, you see. So once we go through this, the challenge really before us is, can we really identify ourselves with the spirit of the Constitution and say we are in search still of that kind of a political leader, that kind of a representative who lives to that model of democracy that the Constitution promised to me as a citizen.
And just imagine a scenario, and God forbid if this happens, I don't think it will happen because most of these candidates may not actually win. But in the next BBMP election, if BPAC and organizations like that actually buy their candidates and those candidates win, they will actually control Bangalore. They will control the agenda of Bangalore, they will control the growth of Bangalore, they will control the development plan for Bangalore. And then what happens to the marginalized? What happens to the slums? What happens to the poor? What happens to the people who are actually sleeping below the flyovers that we build? Will they be just thrown out of Bangalore city? Will they be thrown to the peripheries, to the margins, and where they will just have to find some other way of survival? Is that one way of just getting rid of them? because then they will just have to perish.